Hello everyone, and welcome to this module titled Resilience in a Crisis. There's a lot happening in the last several weeks thanks to the COVID crisis worldwide. This is something unprecedented and something perhaps none of the living beings have faced ever in their lives. The situation continues to unfold every day, and we're wondering what tomorrow is going to bring. So there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of concern, there's a lot of stress generally experienced by the people. How do we cope up with the unfolding situation? And more importantly, can we actually get better than that? Can we thrive in this situation and actually come out stronger from the crisis? That is really what we're looking to address in this module. When I was thinking about what picture captures this best, I found this particular picture on the internet. It is the picture of a single tree that's thriving in the middle of the Sahara Desert, where even drops of water is very rare to come by. This particular tree has found it possible to not just find life, germinate life, but grow into a full-fledged tree in the middle of nowhere. So can we be like that in the current situation? Let's explore. Perhaps we can start by introducing ourselves. And then before we actually get moving, it'll be good to actually get a sense check or a pulse check of how people are feeling in this environment. A couple of questions perhaps we can ask, in one main question, and this is from an exercise that I ran recently, that with the current coronavirus or COVID situation, how are you feeling today? And what you have in front of you, what I put up on the slide, is an example of how people feel. It's not surprising at all. A large part of them are feeling negativity, being worried, being sad, scared, bored, anxious, and so on. Fear, quarantine, concern, you see. But there are also a few who have actually expressed hope and positivity. Fine, hopeful, happy, unity, strong, responsible, opportunity, and so on, right? So it's really a mixed bag, but perhaps a large number of us are feeling concerned about what's happening and what tomorrow will bring. So the question many might ask is that, like, hey, why is this happening to me at this time? What did I do? Why should it happen to me? I just want to recall this one quote from the Lord of the Rings, right, in which Frodo mentions, I wish it had not have happened in my time. To which the wise wizard Gandalf says, so do I, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. I find this so apt for the current moment with COVID going around. While many of us might think like, why should it happen to me? So remember, this is not about you or me or any of us. This is nature having its way. And so it's really not for us to wonder why this is happening to us. But the real question is, what can we do with the situation? And what can we do with the time that is given to us? So I just wanted to share that little quote from Lord of the Rings. So uncertainty in the environment, particularly when things look bleak, it does give rise to a lot of stress, a lot of worry, a lot of sadness, a lot of concern, and this why me attitude, right? But the other side of the picture is that every problem also presents an opportunity. Every glass of water that is half full also is half empty, and the other way around. So the question is, can we go through this crisis, accept what we are being put through, learn to deal with it, and come out of this crisis stronger? That's the basic question that we're looking to see if it's possible. So this term called VUCA is an abbreviation which stands for the current environment. And this has been coined by management experts over the last several years to stand for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We think that the COVID situation there's a lot of all of this VUCA. But I feel like, this VUCA as a term has existed for the last 3 or 4 years. And it's been used to refer to the post 2005, 2006 kind of era, when the pace of the world has increased so much and there is so much uncertainty and things are moving too fast. But it would appear that in the current situation, in the COVID situation, that VUCA has gone kaboom. It's exploded. The uncertainty and the complexity and ambiguity has exploded in this environment. So the big question that we have to ask is, hey, how do I manage this environment? How can I navigate this environment? And what we want to share with you is a framework which we can perhaps use to navigate this environment. Let's do a little visualization exercise, right? While the VUCA world is all around us, let us for a moment assume that there are some layers or zones between us and our VUCA world, right? And let's kind of name these zones and see, like, what these zones might be. At the outermost zone, this you might call a circle of concern or a sphere of concern, which means that all the things in the outermost circle are things which are not in our control, but which we are concerned with. Any change of things in that circle, it does create an impact on me. But there is no way for me to change things or influence things in this circle. Examples, I might have investments and the stock market is in the doldrums. I can't do anything about it. It could be the economy, it could even be my job, it might be the weather, it might be like, taxes, competition, weather. It could be anything, the price of petrol, the price, inflation, anything out there, right? We as individuals do not have any level of control or influence over this things in this sphere. But this is what we call the circle of concern. You can't do much about it, but we can track what's happening in that environment. Now, what's happening in the current environment of COVID is that there is an additional whole lot of things that's been piled on. I like that word, piled on in the circle of concerns. We are amidst a lockdown. We don't know whether the lockdown is going to be extended, how long. When will I be able to travel back to my parents, or when can my parents travel to me? And I'm worried about where they're staying, about the rate at which COVID is increasing or decreasing, whether vaccines can be found or not found, even job security. All of these, are now layered on top of my circle of concern. No wonder that the uncertainty and the stress has increased, because we already have a lot of things piled up in the circle of concern. And now with COVID, this set of things in the circle of concern has increased tremendously. So naturally, a lot of us, are stressed out. Let's come inside one circle. What's the next circle? This is what we call the circle of influence. Influence, by definition, means that you're not in control of it, but you might be able to alter it a little bit. You might be able to change it a little bit, right? And these are the people around me on whom I might be able to influence. My kids, my spouse, my parents, my neighbors, my colleagues, friends, and so on. So this is our circle of influence, as we call it. But again, remember, you can only try to tell them or change them, right? I mean, you cannot determine what they will do. So that's why we call it the sphere of influence. And coming to the innermost circle is what we call the circle of control. In the circle of control, we're saying whatever is in the circle of control, you absolutely can determine and do whatever is inside the circle is within your control 100%. What are these things? You can determine when you eat, what you eat, whether you exercise, how you manage your time that's given to you, what you do with that time. You work, you learn new things, how much news you watch, whether you exercise, whether you meditate. What do you do with your resources in terms of money, in terms of whether you donate it, whether you try to reinvest it and try to make a killing in the stock market. All of this is completely within your sphere of control. So we're talking about a three layers between myself and my VUCA world, which has gone kaboom. The innermost is my sphere of control. The next layer is our sphere of influence. And the outermost is our sphere of concern. The reason I've depicted a top that is spinning next to it is this, that when a top is spinning, the outermost periphery of the top is the point where there's maximum angular momentum. There's a lot of pace at the outermost tip of this particular top. As you start going inside little by little by little, the pace starts to decrease. And we're right at the center of the top. You feel the rotation, the angular momentum, but in terms of the speed, it's absolutely minimal, right? So similarly, here too, in these spheres or circles, the more and more we're able to come inside, there's lesser chaos, there's greater control, but the more and more you go towards the outer periphery, there's lesser control and more speed, higher velocity, and things get out of hand. And of course, there is much outside the sphere of concern itself, but that's the wide world or the universe about which we really don't even care about, right? So this is really it's a framework, right? Hey, but the question is that, hey, what do I do with this framework, right? Let's actually come out with a strategy on how we deal with every single layer. Let's take the outermost layer first. This is the sphere of concern or the circle of concern. There is in IT, in database management, there is this theory called ostrich algorithm. It's very funny. It is said that an ostrich, when in the fear of, when it's in a danger, what it does is it just buries its head in the sand. And the logic is that, like, because it doesn't see the problem. As far as the ostrich is concerned, the problem doesn't exist, right? It's a very silly theory, right? It's called the ostrich algorithm. We're not suggesting, right, just because we cannot do much about the circle of concern, that we forget about it and live as if nothing is happening, right? Don't do that, right? We do need to understand what's happening in the external world, particularly in terms of news. We need to listen to news. But an important suggestion is that regulate the amount of news that you consume. News in the current environment is largely negative. Of course, like, just like we would use our hand to regulate a tap and how much water we need to use and not let it flow everywhere. Similarly, like, regulate this tap of information feed. In the initial week, I found myself catching up on news and CNN and the CDC and COVID websites and Indian news day in, day out, like, on and off on my phone. And I found that in a few days, like, my heart was heavy and there was so much anxiety that was building up. I realized that this kind of habit needs to be worked on. So these days, after a week, I decided, like, I will probably look at the news for about 10 minutes, not first thing in the morning, but after I've refreshed, after I've done my exercises, after I've done my meditation, before I start my day, maybe 10 minutes of news, find out very quickly what's happening. And then maybe at the end of the day, look at it for 10 minutes, and that should be sufficient. But even this information which we consume, the question is, what do we do with the information? It's like, you might have a block of wood. What do you do with a block of wood? It is said that, like, if you have a block of wood, you can remove all that's unnecessary in the block of wood and you could possibly create a furniture. You could probably create a sculpture. So it's not what you have, but really how you use that information that's important. And that is where we're saying, if you're consuming 10 minutes of news in the morning, you have to digest that information. You have to digest that news. You have to process that news and make a determination what kind of actions you need to take for yourself and for your family. If you learn that the extension lockdown is going to happen, let's say, like, I'll give you an example, right? 3 weeks back, when there was a word that lockdown may happen across India, I was concerned because my daughter was staying in another city. And the first thing that we did is to call and said, can you come and how soon you can come? Because we did not want to delay that, her travel back home, because then she would be stuck in another city for God knows how long. So to act on the information that's available and to wisely use that information is critical. Let's say the lockdown is going to get extended for 2 weeks. And let's say they're saying for the next 1 week that food and vegetables is going to be scarce. You probably need to look at what you really need to store up without causing chaos in the market. And also perhaps seeing whether we can eat one meal less. See, these are positive actions you can take and process the information you get so that it actually adds value to your life and your health and your families. So this is probably what can be done in the circle of concern. Let's now directly go to the innermost circle, which is the circle of control. I'll touch about the circle of influence as a next step. In the circle of control, of course, we are all now restricted to our own homes, at least we are asked to. What you can do within your houses is really few things, right? How can you keep up your physical health and mental health? And how do you manage your time? This is all that is given to us. Many times we wanted to spend time and extended time with the family. Perhaps this is a wonderful opportunity. It's a blessing. And most of us are staying with the family. Can you spend time together? Try to build a small routine, because when you get up on time and when you sleep on time, it tends to bring a lot of sanity and clarity to our day. But when our timing also goes for a toss, it appears that the chaos that is outside, now our life also is in chaos. It is a basic routine that brings about a lot of clarity in our day. And you can use that time well. You decide at the beginning of the day, what are the 3 things that you would like to do? And at the end of the day, see that those 3 things are done. You could read a book, you can learn a new language, you can learn cooking, how to do chores, spend time with the family, right? There's a lot of positive things that we can do. But many times what comes in the way is not the availability of time or not the availability of resources. It is this mind, The mind tends to get stressed. The mind tends to get anxious, and it requires training. And that is where Heartfulness offers tools such as relaxation and meditation. The purpose of relaxation is just to relax yourself, relax your body and mind to a state of calm and peace. And the purpose of meditation is that this mind, while it is a fantastic tool, it also tends to be all over the place if it's not trained. And by training it, what do we mean? All that we're saying is our ability to keep our mind in a state of focus. Focused on what? Focused on whatever you're doing at that time. If you're working, work. If you're enjoying a meal with the family, spend and enjoy the meal with the family. Not somebody's on the phone, not somebody's talking with somebody else, somebody's watching something else. And there's not much of a dinner, is it? So how can you be together? How can you, if you're watching a movie, absolutely enjoy the movie. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, what should have happened yesterday. If you're on a conference call, 100% of your presence, physical, mental, emotional, let it be on the call, listen to every word and process every word and respond to what the other people are saying. So that's really in terms of mind, and this training of the mind is really what meditation is. Through meditation, we learn to effortlessly bring our mind to a state of focus so that every moment we are present 100% physically, mentally, and emotionally. And what this leads to is efficiency, effectiveness, excellence. So at this time, what we'll do is we'll take a few minutes to experience this relaxation and meditation. So you may close your eyes, and the trainers, what they can offer is take them through the relaxation and meditation, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever. And at the end of this process, once you bring them out, ask them how they feel. And if they feel mentally relaxed, in a state of focus, calm, peaceful, serenity. This is one of the greatest gifts that we can offer people, or what Heartfulness can offer people in this kind of time and this kind of crisis, because there is so much mental anxiety. To be able to offer tools and techniques, to empower people with tools and techniques which they can use to bring themselves to a state of balance. Because when we operate from a state of balance, we probably do what is right and we can act in the best possible way. So the last circle, which we said we will deal later, is the immediate circle outside of our control, which is the sphere of influence. Yeah, okay, we might be able to use heartfulness tools to bring ourselves to a state of composure, calm, peace, and so on. But what can we do for our loved ones? This is where, right, I mean, I feel that before you can do anything for your loved ones, you got to have that in quality within yourself. What I mean is, fire can only radiate heat, and a block of ice will be able to only radiate coolness to around it. You cannot offer what you do not have yourself. So if you want to bring solace, if you want to bring peace, if you want to bring calm to the people around you, first you have to instill those qualities within yourself. And that is why I talked about relaxation and meditation before I come to the sphere of influence. So let us say, like, we are able to meditate, and let's say we are able to keep ourselves at a state of peace and calm. How can I offer it to others in my family, in my house? Let's say, like, my own sister is staying elsewhere in the city, or maybe one of my parents is staying in their hometown, and I'm stuck here and they're stuck there, and I don't know what's happening. And let us say I find that, there is news of a COVID outbreak exactly in the locality where my parents are. You're anxious, but you're helpless. You can't do much. And this is where Heartfulness offers a technique where instead of just worrying about the situation, you can actually help them in a real way. How do you do this? Let me guide you through this practice. Go ahead, close your eyes, sit comfortably. Tune yourself into the peace and calm and serenity, stillness, which you felt in your heart at the end of meditation. Now imagine that your loved one, be it a parent or a sister or any number of people, that they're all seated before you, also with their eyes closed. Suggest that you're connecting your heart with their hearts. Make a very soft suggestion that you are transmitting love and care from your heart to their heart. Let waves of love and care emanate from your heart and directly reach the heart or the hearts of your loved ones. You can do this for a few minutes, all the time feeling that your heart is completely connected to the other hearts as well. So this is a very simple technique, a very simple micro practice where you can send waves of love and care to those who you care for. And again, you would be able to do this provided you yourself are in that state of peace and serenity and stillness. So this is all that we wanted to talk about today. Okay, in terms of resilience in a crisis. What we walked through, really basically it's a framework, the sphere of concern, the sphere of influence, and the sphere of control, differentiating in terms of where we should be spending our time and how much time should we be spending on each of these, and how we can limit the amount of time we spend in the circle of concern, but act on the information received. We undertake practices such as meditation and relaxation, and instill and get back in touch with that stillness within ourselves. Be back in touch with the serenity and balance within you, and be able to transmit that love and care to the people you love. That is all. If this is a single session, you might want to share with them that they can learn all the heartfulness techniques by going through the 3 master classes. Each one is between 30 and 40 minutes. These are run by the global guide of heartfulness. His name is Kamlesh Patel. And they can do so by logging into heartfulness.org/masterclass. And they can do 1 session each day. And they would be able to learn all the techniques, the 4 techniques of heartfulness. We also offer an online application called HeartSap. And this is like the Uber of meditation. What really makes heartfulness practice work, tick, what's effective, what its USP is the flow of very subtle energy. It's called transmission from the person who's a heartfulness trainer to the person who's practicing meditation. And so meditating with a heartfulness trainer, particularly in the early stages, can be very effective in accelerating this process of inner transformation, getting in touch with that inner stillness and serenity. And for that, what HeartSap does is, whenever you feel that you would like to meditate with a heartfulness trainer, it finds which trainer is available worldwide. And it's like the Uber of meditation. It's able to match a trainer who's available at that time with a person who's looking to meditate with the trainer. And irrespective of distance, this transmission of energy from the trainer, through the trainer, to the person who's practicing heartfulness, it works effectively. Try it for yourself and see if this can help you. God bless. Have a great day.